We'd like to welcome you to Melons in the Middle, where we will share a full growing season as we garden in fabric containers. Well, it's the end of February. We had frost last week, but I think that's all wrapped up. It's going to be 74 degrees today, so let's start planting potatoes. You want these about 2 to 3 inches, 4 inches down. This soil here is all very loose. I just put it in there. It's all basically compost that I've composted over the last 20 years. I'm still using the same stuff. Okay, I've been using these garden markers for the last couple of years, and what's nice about them is they're made out of metal and you can just wipe them clean and rewrite whatever you want to put on that. So let's do that. And I'm going to show you another trick I just learned this year. Is you have this, you don't fill them all the way up with dirt. You can, but they do tend to sink down and everything. So what I do now is I fold them over. So once you get them all nice and folded over, it looks very nice and clean. Go ahead and put your little sign in and you're all ready to start watering. Now when you're doing sweet potatoes, you want to do it the same way, but you'll notice there's like a little root here, little root there. You want that pointed down, about the same depth, 3 or 4 inches down. There's the little root. We're just going to plant 2 in here because I'm giving the other seed away. I don't even like sweet potatoes, but I'm growing them to give them away. So there you go, sweet potatoes. Okay, this year I'm doing something different with my bell peppers. These have gone through the winter season, all the frost and everything, and they're still alive. And they actually look like they're starting to leaf out. So once the leaves do appear, I will trim that up. But one thing about gardening in these containers is this soil gets real root bound and compact. So I use one of these metal rods and I just go through it and loosen it up so that water can get deep down to the bottom. If you don't do that, you're going to find your plant's struggling. I don't get too close to the root ball. If I can get through it a little bit, I will, but not very far. So I'm going to see if I can get another season out of these. Now these Yukon Gold, I'm going to use 1 seed per container. You can go a little deeper with these, like 4 to 5 inches. I'm going to go right in the center and go ahead and fill that up. So I'm going to do 2 containers of Yukon Golds. Okay, so we've got a lot of potatoes planted. We've got the red Norlands, the golds, sweet potatoes, and the Burbank russet. However you pronounce that, I don't know, russet. So we got those all done, then we kind of tucked in all the tops, so that looks nice and clean. I like that look. And you can always raise them back up if you need to add more soil. All right, when I'm planting my pumpkins, I've always had them in a 10-gallon fabric container. I've switched to a 20. But last year I planted my pumpkins in containers, only they were 10 gallons, and one of my pumpkins reached 74 pounds. So I started these a few weeks ago, so they're ready to transplant. I don't plant them in these little containers. I found even though they deteriorate, it stunts its growth at the beginning. I don't like it. So I take them off There's our nice roots. So we can keep that in there. It's all biodegradable. Little tiny hole here. Get that in there. Come on, little pumpkin, stand up. And then, ta-da! We're ready for a record pumpkin. Okay, after I plant my little seedlings that I've grown so tenderly over the last couple weeks, I want to protect them. So I buy this little roll of chicken wire. It's only 10 bucks at Walmart. Cut off just enough. Let's see. Just about that much. Doesn't have to be perfect. So, living out in the country here, we have rabbits, squirrels, mice, rats, and little goldfinches. They eat sunflower seed, sunflower leaves, and they might even peck a little bit on these pumpkins. So I want to protect them. So I'll put a little piece like that in there. Gives it just enough that really nothing's going to try to get in there and get it. So, and then you can still water your seedling through the wire. So you might be wondering why I have all these little pine stakes around the containers. So on peppers, I tend to get so many peppers that the pepper plant gets droopy. So during the winter, I pound in these stakes because during the summertime, there ain't no way you're getting a wooden stake in this ground. You have to go metal, and then that's difficult. So those stakes are there in case I need to prop that pepper plant up when it gets heavy with peppers. Now the taller pine stakes I have in there just in case in the middle of summer I have to put some type of protective netting around it for birds or possible shade from the 110 degrees we get out here. So now for the funnest part of today, I get to grow these. And does anybody know what these are? I wouldn't know. Take a guess. Well, if you said peanuts, you're right. We're going to be growing peanuts in California. The only guy I ever knew that grew peanuts was Jimmy Carter, our president, and I didn't even think about it back then. So anyway, the peanut life cycle is extraordinarily interesting. So we're going to be following that through the whole season, and I can't wait to get to the end of the episodes of that. So let's plant our peanuts. Well, we got about 6 containers of potatoes in, which I'll be planting more because I love potatoes. I harvest them on Saturday mornings and make breakfast burritos and French fries on Sundays. So we got some Big Macs pumpkins up there on the hill, and we've got our peanuts growing. And I live out in the countryside here, which is beautiful in Calaveras County. I don't have a whole lot of neighbors, as you can see. I don't have a deer problem, of all things. I do have a lot of coyotes. I mean, you'll hear 10 or 15 of them right here in the field here howling at night. And then out here in the country, we actually have different issues than you might have, such as rattlesnakes. I will also show you what goes on underneath your melon patch and your pumpkins when you're not looking. Well, I'm hoping in the next episode that all my watermelon seedlings will be ready to plant. They're kind of lagging right now. So I'm going to plant those in these raised soil areas. That's all my compost that I've made over the years. And then I put pine chips down. They're not as available as like cedar, but I was told cedar is not a good thing to use in your garden, although I like it better than pine. So we went these pine chips because last year I was growing my pumpkins and melons, and what I did, like a nincompoop, is I put some of them on bricks and slate like this. Don't ever do that, because all they do is split. It's like a hot plate. You know, it's 110 degrees outside. That gets like to 140, and they just kind of cook and crack. So don't ever put your pumpkins or melons on anything like that. So I hope you enjoyed this episode of Melons in the Middle. Hey, Okie Dokie Doo, come here and say hi. Come here. Well, this is Oakley, and he's not allowed in the garden. Right, Oakley? Huh? Okay, say bye. Hey, say bye.